listening to the Betmaker Show. This is the NFL Preseason Week 4 betting odds preview for Monday, August 26th, 2019. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
We are almost to the start of football season and games that will count, thank God. But we've got the worst week of the year. It'll be very fun. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas to talk to our good friend Jack, who runs the show, rules the roost at Bookmaker for the NFL. Week 4 of the preseason. Best of luck to you on this vein for both sides of the counter. But hi, Jack. How you doing? You shook that cold, man. You sound good.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
All right, but is there, I know there's not, but in a small way, are there any parallels? Limits clearly are different, but are there parallels to week 4 of the preseason and week 17 of the regular season in the NFL where you just don't know what's going on?
I couldn't make that comparison for the simple reason, even in week 17, there's teams fighting for playoffs. There's teams out of contention. But no matter, even if you're out of contention, you're on film for people that are going to need players next year. Now you're going to get 60 minutes to do that. This year in the fourth game, you may only be in there for a few minutes, and you're probably somebody no one's ever going to look at again.
That's a fair point. And the one thing that's really different this year, and it may seem like a little thing, but I think it's going to have an impact, and it may bleed out the adjustments you have to make. Not significantly, because it's not like the greatest play in the world's getting cut. But they used to do 3 cut downs. Now they're doing one massive, here's my team, and all of a sudden every team's going to be scarfing up guys on these final cuts all around the league. So it'll be interesting to see. I think there'll be a handful of teams that are actually going to reap some rewards and get some pretty good players here on this one cut down at the end.
And the only rationale I see for that is because the regulars are playing so much less than they have in the past that they still need these bodies on the roster to play these exhibition games.
So again, week 4 preseason, the whole process is about quarterback rotation, and that's kind of the starting point for anybody. And then, trying to get information from a coach, how long are offensive lines going to play, first units, things of that nature. But boy, week 4 is literally, I would think you might see 4 or 5 quarterbacks collectively that could start in week 1, even take the field this week.
No, you're 100% right. Though especially this year, more than ever, as we talked about in the past few weeks, during the week they're playing against another team. They're practicing against another team. They're getting more reps in there and less on the exhibition games. So if you see any at all that are going to be starters, I'd be surprised.
But there are things that have just continued to roll along in preseason. I mean, Baltimore's building themselves a Joe DiMaggio preseason win streak, and clearly that's something you guys take into account. Seeing them, we're looking, generally speaking, about a 3-point favorite on the road at Washington?
I would think so, yes, sir.
For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. And all the things that we watch when the waiver wire, week 3, the Lions lose 2 starters. It's like a punch to the gut. I think, Jack, they've got to somehow trim this down to 2 games. The funny thing is, it's not like they didn't know this. It's just long been a money grab. But, boy, teams' fortunes just get destroyed in the preseason.
I agree with you. They should change it. I don't think they ever will.
It's craziness, man. I'll tell you. Has there been anything for you, or when you guys huddle up and you've got your opinions, has there really been other than, and we're gonna do a separate little thing on obviously the monster story in the NFL, Andrew Luck, but beyond that, Anything you're really taken away from the preseason that have formed or altered good or bad opinions on select teams?
Every game that you view, you'll end up getting an impression on. But so for me, it still comes down to statistics. I really hate the exhibition season. I haven't changed it that much. Regular season wins, you don't see them skyrocketing one way or the other without an injury, as we're going to talk about shortly. So, no, the impressions don't change.
Okay. And then the other thing, because the market has been up for a long time, have there been significant movements for week one lines? Again, beyond the luck thing. Have you seen anything correlated in terms of play on a select team for regular season wins, seeing their line move for game one? Have there been any developments where you say, well, the betting public certainly is forming an opinion that we have to pay attention to?
I would say on the Green Bay Chicago game has moved the most. I believe we opened at 5 or 5.5, or it got up at least that high. Now it's down to 3. I think they're reading good things coming out of the Green Bay camp. I think the players that are putting their money up believe in it, and I think they think Green Bay's on the bounce back.
Generally speaking, division games, even if you got a really good team against a weaker team, but it's a division game. I mean, and these are kind of broad brush things that we can talk about all throughout the course of the season. But there's an element of familiarity, right? I mean, if you're a division foe, these guys are, for the most part, there are changes, but there's familiarity. Coaches, for the most part, players. Is there a shade to the dog generally because of familiarity when it comes to a division game?
I would think so. The more familiar you are with your opponent, the easier it should be. I mean, you know how they beat you, either know how you beat them last time or how they beat you. And I think the team that won is the one that's more circumspect to downgrade in their position for the next game.
All right. And then, again, the broad brush for week 4 in the preseason. Limits across the board in preseason are significantly less. How much more do these games tend to run? We know preseason games, that line can steam because it's all based on information. Is week 4 crazier than the other weeks in your past memory?
In the past, yes. In this year, as I spoke about earlier, with less and less regulars playing because of the scrimmages during the week with their opponent, that it won't. I don't see it running this week. I see all scrubs playing, and basically every game is going to be pick to 3 at home.
All right, good stuff. And then just as one thing's winding down, and that's NFL preseason, and we know the regular season's about to start. We had 2 college football games. Just maybe make this little broad brush football season kickoff conversation with you. We had the Florida Miami game. We had the Arizona Hawaii game. How about those 2 phenomenal games that came right down to the wire that hopefully sets the table for a great college football season?
Well, it set the table, right? They were great games to watch. Great. If you had the dogs in both games, you're very happy. But they were exciting games. The point spread in the Miami game, it was in question for a little while. In the Arizona, not at all. But it was great to see Hawaii play like that. They played well against a decent Arizona team. Again, Kevin Summerlin, not much on him as a coach.
Yeah, wow. And because there were only 2 college football games, curious, handle through the roof on those games to the point where anywhere near, I mean, were those 2 games better than the preseason games in the NFL?
Oh, very much so. Not even close. There was great handle on both the college games, the handle on the NFL.
As good as it was, would those games ever approach an NFL regular season game?
Oh, regular season game? No.
It just speaks volumes to the 800-pound gorilla, right, that the NFL is. I mean, it's the lifeblood of what we do. And you can have all the offerings, all these creative ideas and all these things, and we're critical of some things they do, and it doesn't matter, man. When they tee it up, I know, It's the NFL. The NFL is king.
Yeah, no, it is. There's no doubt about it. I remember when baseball was king, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is a long time ago. There's no doubt about it. All right, a good overview. It's been a wild preseason. The next time we talk to Jack, we're going to be talking about week one lines, where they've all settled in. But we're also going to step aside, but come back, and we're going to get his take on the really huge story, Andrew Luck's injury that has forced him to retire, and the impact it's had around the league. That is coming up in just a bit. All right, Jack, we'll touch base. Thanks, bud. We'll chat with you about this Andrew Luck thing coming up shortly.
Betmaker, let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction, as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At Betmaker.com and The Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling. An approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.